This is Remembering Smallville,
a Smallville rewatch podcast.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Kim.
And I'm Brett.
Whoa, we're into season 3. Oh my gosh.
Season 3!
Season 3 is the place to be.
We are going to start off with a fun little thing today. We're going to keep going with those banters in the beginning. And this time we have something really special that's super Smallville related.
Pun intended.
So, at time of recording, the new Superman trailer for 2025 has just dropped. And so we watched it together, and we are now going to talk about it and just kind of give our opinions. What'd y'all think?
Oh my gosh. The thing that stood out to me, did Superman always have a dog who is super?
And his name is Crypto?
So there was a fun little cartoon TV show that I watched growing up called Crypto the Super Dog. And
No.
it was about a personified, was that the word? Anthropomorphized crypto dog who he's from Krypton. He came on another ship and he has adventures with Superman. And here's the thing about this trailer. James Gunn is a very nerdy director. And I have a feeling that he's pulled a lot of stuff into this that you probably only really understand fully if you're kind of a comic nerd. What do you think, Brett?
Oh, he knows his audience, and he's actually really smart with this. It's the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. For those of you who don't know, James Gunn, he was over the Guardians of the Galaxy from the Marvel movies. And what you're going to see from him is he knows how to connect with your casual viewer to make it something interesting to watch. And he knows that there's the nerdy people out there, like Daniel and myself, that know a little bit about the comics, that know about these characters, and he's going to throw in a lot of comic references that a lot of people won't catch. It might be just things in the background, little numbers, little snippets here and there. And so if you're watching this trailer, you're seeing a lot of characters doing things, and they're not your standard things. Like, you'll see Green Lantern in this trailer, and it's not the Green Lantern that everyone's thinking of with Ryan Reynolds. It's not that Green Lantern. It's a different comic book reference Green Lantern. And the haircut on Nathan Fillion is, oh my gosh, so comic accurate. That's painful.
I saw a side-by-side of the comic character that they're pulling from for this and him. It looks exactly the same.
Really?
And there's a more classic suit and stuff. But I want to know what Nicole thought.
I thought there were a lot of villains.
Yes.
That's actually a really good way to start a story, especially when we've all had Superman's origin many, many times. But you could fail at that. And I really, really hope that they do a good job with it. Did you like the trailer, Nicole?
I did not like the music.
Really?
I liked the music. The music is Superman. I didn't like the weird guitar, slow, whammy bar style.
I'm going to be honest, it was one of my favorite parts about this trailer.
I really enjoyed that.
But then again, I don't really like music in general, so
No, it's fair. It
just stressed me out more than it needed to. It didn't feel like triumphant Superman music. It was like
I thought it
80s
felt very
grunge
triumphant.
Superman. I don't know.
That's why we want your thoughts on this, because everyone's a little bit different. I think that's great.
I liked the dog. Computer generated animals usually bum me out. I get it's better than like forcing a real dog or animal to do tasks, but
it does look fake.
I just don't like computer animated animals.
I wonder if they
with
have
people.
scenes with Crypto being a real dog and scenes without.
I don't know.
The problem with Crypto, he's a super dog. It's not like Air Bud or something. He's literally a Kryptonian dog.
Yeah.
So that
that's how
comes
they
with
look.
everything.
That's how they look.
They look cheesy. That's the first thing I thought, is the dog looked a little cheesy, but it was cute.
Yeah.
And then Nicole said that Jonathan let himself go.
Yeah,
If that's him.
it's gotta be.
And then Daniel, you said something about Lois Lane.
Oh, this Lois Lane looks really pretty.
So what I liked about her is she was a very naturally,
Yeah. And that's what I liked too.
but not beautiful, right? Just a very pretty, nice looking person.
Well, in my opinion, that makes her more beautiful
Yeah,
than if she were some souped up model-like
and it
person.
makes it more believable.
Oh, yeah. I struggle with his crazy poof front hair when he's Clark Kent, but maybe it looks better throughout the whole movie, not just in the snippets I've seen.
So, Brett, talk about this.
So I actually really loved it. First of all, I don't like the hairstyle. That's not a hairstyle I like, but it is popular today.
Yeah.
It's a popular one. But I do like this because it helps with that
two persona thing.
Changed, between Clark Kent and Superman.
It's true. He looks very different from just Superman.
Well, when he's laying in the snow at the beginning, and it's kind of like a 3/4 profile of his face, he looks like Henry Cavill.
And I like that he's a nobody.
I don't know who that actor is, and I don't care. He's Superman.
It looks like in the trailer that he plays a very awkward, almost like a Robert Pattinson Batman. Like they're very quiet and like almost awkward. So we'll see.
That's how he's supposed to be. So I get like Tom Holland Spider-Man vibes. A little bit like kind of nerdy young guy when he's in his Clark Kent persona at the Daily Planet. But then I get like sexy Henry Cavill Superman vibes when he's Superman. So I think they're doing a good
red
job.
Underwear. I hate the red underwear on the outside.
That's James Gunn's nerdiness coming out. He's putting some classic things to it. I think he helped design it.
Martha's like, I made these for you. And he's like,
they're your lucky panties.
Thanks, Mom. I promise I'll wear them.
and I get it. And it's not going to be something that distracts me during the movie, but I actually do appreciate that Zack Snyder did for Henry Cavill is he got rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was like, it's just something that wasn't necessary. And so this, I get that it's going classic and it looks fine, but it is something that I do appreciate from the Zack Snyder is you can get rid of the underwear.
So last quick thoughts from each of us. So first of all, I have only one concern from this trailer. I worry about them putting too much into it and not doing a good job at that. I have a pretty high trust of James Gunn because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the worst of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and I think that's a pretty high bar to be the worst of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was the best Marvel movie that was released after Endgame, period. And No Way Home doesn't count because it's a Sony movie. I'm talking Marvel, true Marvel movie. Best one released post Endgame was Guardians 3. And so I think James Gunn will do a good job. He clearly loves these characters. He loves comics. And so that is a huge deal. I hope it's good. I like the Lex Luthor. It's the guy from Warm Bodies.
Yes.
And
that's what we didn't talk about.
Lex Luthor
looks amazing, and I hope that he just nails this character.
And I like that he's about the same age as Clark.
Yes.
They seem to be contemporaries, which would line up well with Smallville.
I hope that James Gunn was doing this and he's like, Smallville's sort of canon for this. That would be amazing.
That would be so cool.
Nicholas Hoult, in general, I've loved his body of work, things that he's done. Warm Bodies, yes. I'm also thinking of him as Beast in the X-Men movies. There's a lot of different things he's done. I was really excited, if I'm being honest, this is a tangent. He was in the final running for doing Batman instead of Robert Pattinson, and I knew he would be fantastic at that too. They went with Robert Pattinson, different conversation, different day. But I loved, as soon as I heard he was going to be Lex Luthor, I went, yes, sign me up. I want that Lex Luthor.
Yeah, he's a very broad actor. I'm pretty optimistic about this, actually. I wasn't wanting a Superman movie at all that wasn't Henry Cavill, but I think it looks like it could do well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We'll find out.
And speaking of finding out, we get to find out in this episode exactly what happens after that horrible cliffhanger at the end of season 2. Can you imagine having to wait like 6 months or more for that?
To find out.
I couldn't even wait 10 minutes. I just started the next one.
That's true.
And even worse than that is how this starts. You just, like, it's great, but I hate it so much. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Thank you for listening to the Luthor Corp Weekly Memo. All Luthor Corp employees are encouraged to follow the Remembering Smallville social media pages to stay up to date on the latest Remembering Smallville news and policies. Follow us at Remembering Smallville on Instagram or email us at rememberingsmallville@gmail.com.
This is Smallville Season 3, Episode 1, Exile.
Clark Kent is living in Metropolis under the alias Cal and committing crimes after being influenced by red kryptonite.
This episode, every single scene was still in my head. As I was watching, I was like, oh, I know all of this.
Really?
I even was pre-quoting lines from the episode before they happened while I was sitting there quietly watching to myself and hating myself for it. I don't understand why, but I think this is one of my favorite episodes, so
Yeah, it's a good one to like love and hate.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
We start out with something that becomes a lot more common in later seasons of Smallville. These sweeping shots of Metropolis and the Daily Planet. And that really brings me some joy. I think that's partly why I like it so much.
We get the headline 3 months later.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
He's been alone for 3 months.
And he's not cut his hair once in that time.
I know.
That's what I was going to say. He wears his hair a lot longer in these.
I said, this is the Goblet of Fire era.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody had long hair.
Oh, well, yeah. 2003, 2004.
This episode
And
aired.
the song, yeah.
Yeah, this episode aired October 1st, 2003.
Yeah. So shags are big.
Question. Do they ever touch on the topic that the longer he has kryptonite in his system, is it bad for him? Does it wear on his body?
So they do mention that the longer he has the red kryptonite, the more it affects him and the more it changes him.
Okay, but it won't ever like wear him down.
I think they'll mention like he's getting worse. Like he's create bigger and bigger crimes. At this point, it's been 90 days of Red K. And he's robbing ATMs,
smashing them,
stealing vehicles, like
picking up whores,
deciding to go with the crime boss. He's really at the end of his limits of how naughty he can be.
Mm-hmm. But no long-term side effects.
No.
Okay.
Maybe having inhibitions like that unleashed for a period of time is going to create a dark side to yourself. Yeah. So
this surprised me. Like even on Red K, to see him breaking the law, I was like, oh, Superman doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely was feeling like all of the pain and he just wanted to suppress it with something. None of it obviously is okay, but we see him smash in all these ATMs, steal the money, go, and he's flirting with the girl while saying, is this enough cash to buy a car? And then it pans to a newspaper on the ground that says R.I.P. Lex. The search is called off. A funeral is coming for Lex Luthor. Mm-hmm. What were your initial thoughts on this, babe?
My initial thoughts were, no, he's not dead, right? Like
it's
there's
like
so
Luthor.
many seasons. Yeah. But I was like, what's going to happen? What's the story? Where is he?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. At any point were you thinking to yourself, did he and Helen die?
Yes. I was like, what happened to Helen? Because I didn't know any of her story yet.
Because he wakes up in the plane at the end of season 2.
And
he's
she's
alone,
gone.
And then he crashes and you think, what happened?
Yeah.
I love that music is playing. Girls don't like boys. Girls like cars and money.
Oh,
yeah.
And
what a nostalgic song.
And I did a little research for us. When he buys that Lamborghini, she says it's $240,000. And I was like, so how much are they now?
Yes.
Because this is 2003 Lamborghinis. So a 2025 Lambo, they start at only $241,000. So they've only the base model of a good Lambo, a sports car. But if you want to get like the top of the line, latest and greatest with all the add-ons, is $350,000.
Wow.
Some mighty dough for a vehicle.
Yeah, that he uses for 4 miles and then gives away immediately.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because it's technically a stolen car. It's not like he can hold on to it.
Yeah, he doesn't want it tied to him. He's pretty smart for the most part in trying to not get too much trailing him.
Yeah. The fact that he's not using any disguise of any kind while he's smashing ATMs, you know there's security cameras.
These are 2001 security cameras. That is pixelated as heck.
And he could fry those with his heat vision.
Maybe
you didn't see that part
that's
first.
True.
Yeah, that can be in our head canon.
Or
right?
he like sped grabbed it, but we just see it slowed down.
For sure.
Yeah. So he has just acquired a woman who is probably 25, maybe even older.
And he's 15.
Ew.
Like 15, 16 right now. He could be 16 by now, getting into his senior year, right?
That's still disgusting.
Junior year.
Yeah, junior year. Sorry.
Okay, so he's 16, but still. Oh, why would I even say it like that? He can at least drive. How about that?
Yeah. If the gender roles were reversed.
Oh, he'd go to jail.
And no one would be accepting this at all.
If Clark were a girl and he goes and he like sees this man that's eyeballing him, and he's 16 and the man, and she's 16 and the man's like 25, that would be gross. But we all think, oh, he's 16 and she's 25, like good for him.
Well, he also is very tall and built, and he doesn't look that age.
I know.
25.
You go off of looks first.
No, I
way.
know.
Yes,
It's just
I get what you're saying.
And she's not going to assume this young child did all these things.
Has 300 grand
Right.
cash in his bag.
She's thinking, well, he's obviously in his early 20s and he's made all this money. I'm going to go diddle. So, but at the bartender at the Club Atlantis says,
so hold on.
Yes.
Do you think at this point he has lost his virginity?
No, he has not.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. Because the bartender says you come here with a new girl every night, but you always leave alone. Mm-hmm. And that's letting us as viewers know the V card is intact.
Love it.
Because it's a big deal for Clark, because I think he would have killed someone.
That's what I'm like, how do you even try for the first time?
I know.
Well, if you're a fresh viewer of the show, which Kim is, there is actually a pretty strong plot line around Clark and intimacy that is very reasonable. It's exactly the types of things that he would be thinking about the older he gets.
Which I'm so glad, because sometimes that gets passed under the rug.
Especially
right?
for a superhero. When you have super strength and then you want to be intimate with a really fragile human.
What if your sperm has super strength?
Exactly.
Shoots right through her.
There's some robot chickens about that. So yeah, there's actually a really good plot line about that later. But
Okay.
it's a good thing they're not getting into it now because he's too
a bit young. And we don't, and the part of it is you wouldn't want him, because that's a big moment for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like especially for teenagers, you don't want him just to throw that away. It has to be like a meaningful moment. So they're not gonna waste that on just some rando in Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
Clark leaves the club. As he's walking outside, his chest starts to hurt. And what do we get? Nicole, what happens to his chest?
Well, he shows it to us, and we are eternally grateful.
eternally
Because it's even hot with a huge scar on it.
Yeah, except
Nicole
that
mentions multiple times in these episodes. She was like kind of sitting next to me while I was watching because she watched them first and then I was watching them. But she mentioned multiple times like, oh, the low pants and the
their
shirt.
pants are so low.
I know.
That way you can see all the things that
So
you
low,
can.
so manscaped, and so appreciated.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Clark goes into a phone booth, which is very Superman, right? His phone booth stuff.
Yeah.
This is his first time in a phone booth taking off his shirt.
He takes off his shirt and he's like, "Ow, the brand, it burns." So he pulls a quarter out of his pocket.
Well, no. What? There's something that happens right before that that's really, really important for
takes
these
the
two
ring
episodes.
off.
Yes, and what happens when he takes the ring off?
The burning stops,
So Jor-El is trying to use this thing to get him to stop,
punishing him.
and it's not working on, like, at least it's not working long term. It's just temporarily it gets him to take it off to relieve the pain.
Yeah.
Poor Jor-El finding out he can't force his teen to do anything.
Yes, I love that. Yes.
Yeah, Clark pulls a quarter out of his low-rise jeans, dials home. His mom answers.
He just breathes
And
into the receiver.
And she's like, "Clark, come home, please." And I don't know if you noticed in this scene, but there are cardboard boxes all over the place.
Yeah, and it didn't occur to me until
At the Kent
we
house.
find out. Yeah.
This is so hard. Think of all the things that are going on right now. They lost a child in the womb, which is terrible. Then Clark runs away, and they start to lose the farm, probably because of the medical bills. Clark's not doing the chores anymore. They probably can't keep up with it.
Their storm cellar exploded.
Yeah, like
All their food storage is gone.
all this stuff is happening. Like, what a terrible time. And then on top of that, you're missing your 16-year-old son. He's off in the big city doing who knows what with essentially constant supply of heroin attached to him.
Unlimited power. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he finishes the phone call, puts the ring back on, and we see his eyes flare up.
And he smiles. He feels better again.
He just feels nothing in that point. And then we have our intro for season 3. I watched it hoping to see differences.
Yeah, is
It's
it?
the same.
Okay.
Although in this episode, we have 4 or 5 shots, like 2 or 3 second shots, that will be recurring in the like opening sequence later.
So the stuff from this is going to be used later, but it just isn't yet.
Like Lana, when she's kind of pushing through the crowd at the funeral, like that's one. And then the one where Clark is in the phone booth, like taking off his shirt with the glowy chest. That's a sequence.
So they had to keep it the same for this episode, but then it will change.
But not yet. I don't know if it changes.
I think it doesn't change till like season 4 or 5.
We'll see. We'll keep an eye.
Did you guys notice how fake Metropolis looked?
Yeah,
it looked
very
like a
CGI.
picture. Yeah.
A painting.
It'll get a little better. Well, actually, it gets a lot better as the series goes on.
A lot better. So we come into the next scene, and it's a bank robbery.
It's
we
that
get
classic
clown mask.
clown bank robbery.
That's just a DC Universe thing, I guess.
It reminded me a lot of that Batman movie, right?
Yep, the Dark
Knight.
Yeah, that one.
Same, yep. I love that
And
movie.
so you at first you're like, is Clark robbing a bank?
Yes.
With cronies? But no, Clark rides into the bank
on his
to,
motorcycle.
Then become the robber.
It's not his normal motorcycle that he left town on.
Yeah, it's a
different
bullet
one.
bike.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I think the funniest line here is, nice bank, but I saw it first. Or what does he say?
I think that's what
Stick
he
to
says.
balloon animals. Is
Yeah,
what
he says stick to balloon animals, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "This is my robbery." Like he's like, "I'm taking over." It's so funny.
It's so silly. But something to note here is Clark is wearing his green shirt because he's not himself, but there's a symbol on it.
I didn't notice.
So his shirt has like a graphic on it.
Okay.
And it's like the anti-Superman because they give him like a symbol.
Oh.
Just, it's just so subtle.
Nice.
And I love that.
Great costuming.
love
There you
that.
go.
It's a bit of a reference to Ultraman, which is like an evil version of Clark Kent.
Okay.
That is like a comic series.
Yep. Clark takes the money. The cops have arrived to stop the bank robbery, and Clark just casually walks out with his ski mask and his green shirt. We have the same cop from the hostage episode in season 2, that
Yes.
woman cop, and they decide to just fire every bullet they've ever had toward Clark / all the people laying on the floor in the bank as hostages. Not the greatest police work with Metropolis, I'd say. And then we get 7 whole minutes into season 3 before a car explodes. 7 whole minutes.
7 minutes. A new record.
I mean, they needed it because,
We would probably turn it off if there wasn't one.
yeah, that's why we're here.
We're here for explosions.
No, they're fun. Like it's
Well, and it distracts the cops. They all duck and drop. He gets away, and the cop picks up his ski mask that has bullet holes all through it, and all the bullet casings are flattened, just laying on the ground where he was standing.
I don't know why this whole 7 minutes just baffles me, but I'm like, you've spent your whole life hiding your secret, and now you're just out in the open.
But that's the thing about Red K. It always makes him want to be more open about it. I do hate that the bullets flatten. They wouldn't do that. If you've ever seen what bullets do when they hit an immovable object, they don't just turn into flat coins. But I digress.
Well, I thought all those flat pieces were coins. A lot of them were coins.
Oh.
From the bag that
From the bag, the bank robbery.
Could be. Maybe.
It's a bank. So I think maybe it's a mixture.
Sure.
But something that bothers me is just because your face is covered doesn't mean they won't figure out who you are.
That's what kills me.
They know your height, your weight, your build, that you're Caucasian. They'll know your eye color. They'll know what your teeth look like.
And when this episode ends, they're not just going to drop the search for this
Bank
guy
robber.
that made
And
such a big deal.
He left all the bank robbers alive in the bank, all the clowns. And those bank robbers we'll find out, connected to Morgan Edge. He doesn't kill people. That's part of the problem. If he killed people, he would have just killed them and he would have been safer, but...
Don't you mean the guy from Lady Hawk?
Damn.
So I agree with you that that's all true, Nicole. But that is with real world cops. Comic book cops have no idea what the f is going on.
That's true. She's like, what is this holy mask? We'll never know. He had a mask on.
In order to have a good comic universe, you kind of have to have...
Dumb cop.
Yeah.
It's true.
So true. So our next scene, it's back at the Kent farm. And
Boxes.
we see the boxes everywhere, but they see a newspaper article about this bank robber.
The masked vigilante.
Right?
And guess what? This is the only scene of Pete Ross in the first 2 episodes of the season.
Yep. He's not even in episode 2. Not at all. Not for 1 second.
Really?
Yeah.
He gets one line. It's definitely Clark. He's getting worse.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
I mean, I get it. Pete probably found the article and then brought it to the Kents, and he's showing them, like, I think this is where he is, because they're all looking for him still.
Mm-hmm. And Jonathan's like, I'm going to go. I got to go get him. And Martha's like, you can't. And she talks him down, and they decide they're going to have to wait. Clark's got to figure this out by himself.
I really, really, really love Jonathan in these 2 episodes, but we'll get into that later.
Yep. Then we cut to the Talon. Chloe's got a new hair and a new piercings.
It's way better than all of season 2, but it's still not kind of that great.
Oh, I think this is...
I loved it. I love all of her hair, but I like weird hair.
Well,
but it's very good in this, I thought.
Her hair just gets so much better, so I'm comparing it to that later.
Okay.
I think it's fine. It's very in with the times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that super bleached
It's
hair.
like a post-breakup hair. She's been
It's
dealing with
so
it for
true.
like a year.
And she's like, I'm a new woman.
And she's got like rebellion piercings.
Yeah,
It's
she's
so
got some
funny.
rebellious ear piercing. And it's hard because Lana's like, I love him. I want to be with him. I'm holding out hope he'll come home. And Chloe's like, you need to get over it.
Yeah.
I did. You got to get over this.
Well, and Chloe's got some context here that we don't find out till later. She has seen Clark at least once.
And she knows where he is and where he's
And
staying.
he's spoken
Of
with
course
him.
she does.
And she has heard him talk about things, and she knows that he is not the same, and he has no interest in coming back.
And that if he's found out, he'll leave even further.
I loved this about Chloe because this is totally what she would do. She's like, I'm going to find, I'm going to track him down.
Well, and she would be
she's
the
a
one who
journalist.
could find him, too. She's very good at stuff like that.
Cute detail.
Meanwhile, because Lex is supposedly dead, Lana is under the Luthor Corp accountants.
And they want to
pressing
close
down.
the Talon.
They just don't want the Talon. It's not a moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
So our next scene, we have Clark asleep in bed with his brand ever so open to the world.
And he would have silk sheets.
I know.
Don't those look luxurious? If only I could just crawl in right next to him and just take a nap.
Just spoon him.
Yeah. just to feel the sheets, Daniel.
I'm
Sure.
sure he'd be a great big spoon.
His silky, smooth skin also has nothing to do with it, right?
No, I'm in it for the sheets.
Yeah, okay.
She's in it for the sheet. She'd
I
like
do
to
love
feel
how
them.
decadent he gets under Red K. He always gets the most
yeah.
expensive stuff. That's always kind of a fun
Which is
bit.
what a cool detail, right? Because his normal self would not buy anything expensive.
Oh yeah, he's wearing silk shirts and he has almost no primary colors in his wardrobe.
Yeah, instead of flannel and 25-year-old blankets.
This is why Smallville stands out from others. I'm starting to learn this. It's in the tiny details.
Oh yeah,
You guys have taught me that.
they really do, and I'm not sure if every show has these. I know that Stargate does a really good job at tiny details like this too, but it was made around the same time. I feel like it's a bit of a lost art.
Yes.
Or if they do them, the main substance of the show isn't good enough to make you care about the tiny details.
Yeah.
Well,
Right?
and back then, they weren't using CGI for everything. They weren't working on green screens. It's all practical.
Right. They were actually on sets and
So
really
there were
stuff.
set decorators and there were costume designers and there were...
And they had to think about the details.
Well,
Right.
taking it a step further, Smallville is about Superman. We all know his story. We all know how it's going to end up. This is a prequel, which has its flaws when it's a prequel, just because any intense moment is not how Superman dies, right? It's
Right.
like the stakes are never that high because it's a prequel of how he becomes Superman. So how do you make it interesting? You've got to tell the story and you've got to make the story interesting. So I love that they've taken the time on these details. Where so many other shows that are out there, the story is what you're watching. So they don't have to pay attention to all the little details because the story is what you're watching.
Yeah.
True.
And you just kind of get into the moment where the stakes build, even though in our hearts and in the back of our minds we know right now Lex isn't dead. He can't be. He's the main villain. But you still think in the moment, to everyone else, he is dead. So you can go with them.
Yeah.
Because you just put yourself in a spot where you think, I only know what they know, not what I know will be. Because they don't.
have no answers. How long is he gone for?
Right.
How, yeah.
Yep. So the two bank robbers sneak into Clark's apartment. And he doesn't make up at all, or he's faking sleeping.
Look at this fancy art above his bed.
It's so modern.
This is at minute 10:35. So
before we
villains.
get into this,
Okay.
do you remember that green shirt we talked about?
Yeah.
Yes.
I went and looked up some information. That symbol that is on the green shirt is actually the Chinese symbol for the red dragon.
Oh, details. Look at those details.
So he's wearing a green shirt, which is often associated with villains in comics, especially DC comics. And a lot of Superman's villains
also kryptonite.
have a lot of
That
green.
too.
Plus there's kryptonite. But like if you see like comic book Lex Luthor, he'll make greenish machines and stuff when he's doing things. And then Brainiac has a lot of green to him. Things like that are very villainous for Clark Kent. And so he's using this red dragon persona shirt that
It's very good.
like,
That's
wow.
so cool.
I guarantee that they were meaning to do it.
Well,
that
100%.
way.
The bad guys just ruin the sheets I want with a billion bullets and their automatic weapons.
And that down comforter that looks so nice.
I cannot stop ruining my stuff. I claimed those sheets 5 minutes ago. They shoot it all up and they like go to like poke at the mound underneath. And at first I was like, oh, they're just going to be pillows and Clark will have like sped run away. But no, he's under there. He like pulls open the sheets and then reveals himself perfectly fine. And then like chokes him out and knocks him down. And then who shows up? But this kind of old man.
Yeah.
His name is Morgan Edge.
It's the
I was
man from
like-
Lady Hawk.
Yeah. I was like, oh, the city gangster.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he's a crime boss. Clark is shirtless for not long enough, but then he puts on a Volcom shirt. And they
Volcom,
have
yes.
and they have a little chat.
So I'm pretty sure the Volcom shirt is a product placement.
100%.
Yes.
So it's not quite that detailed.
It's like their brand.
But it at least has the detail that it's a green jewel,
Yes.
which is super
Yeah.
funny to me.
It's good. Morgan Edge is a crime lord. He says, I want to hire you. And Clark's like, nah, I work alone. And he goes, well, get in touch if you want to. And
Yeah.
kind of just leaves it at that. And you know it's not the end.
Oh, yeah.
This is a start of a lot of nonsense.
A lot of nonsense.
That's the first thing I asked Brett. I was like, does he stick around?
He does.
He might. I guess we'll see.
I think already he does a really good job acting.
Oh, well, he is a good actor in general. He's done so much stuff.
Has he?
The first thing I recognized Morgan Edge from was from the Christian Bale Batman series. He is the individual that is running Wayne Enterprises while he's growing up. So when he comes back, he is that. So he plays almost the same creepy, like, I'm a villain, not the main villain, but I'm a person you don't want around. And that's kind of the role he plays in almost every show he's in.
He was an 80s adult heartthrob for a little while.
I could see
This
that. He's
actor.
good looking.
He's actually Dutch. So
His hair is quite blonde.
Yes, because when you hear him speak, he has an accent. If you guys have heard him in like interviews and stuff.
yeah.
This is the backstory I have to put in there. Those two bank robbers, the neck tattoo guy, went to their boss. We failed the bank robbery, boss. And he's like, what? He goes, but don't worry. There was this guy who came and he got shot like 86 times and he's perfectly fine. And he ran away really, really fast. And this boss he has to believe them. And he's like, okay, well, let's go somehow find this guy, which they do quickly. And they sneak in and he's like, I want you to shoot him a bunch of times and see. And I'll stand there and watch in the shadows. Yeah. Like, what a plan.
Well, worst case scenario, he's probably got the money on him anyway, so
Yeah, they can
get
go
rid of
just
the threat
re-rob.
if he can be killed.
Right.
If he can't, maybe they can find a way to recruit him. So
Or
he's
he
definitely
dies.
playing multiple games here.
Yeah. How those two criminal bank robber guys aren't in jail right now is weird. Because
Yeah.
Well, he is the crime boss of Metropolis,
I
so he could have
guess.
bailed them out.
I guess.
He could have people in his pockets in the courts and stuff. So
yeah, I suppose.
it could be a bit like Gotham. You know, Gotham's pretty
Corrupt.
pretty bad, and Metropolis is supposed to have some pretty nasty corruption too.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Do you like Clark's hair in this episode?
No. But then again, you don't like Clark in this episode either. So,
But do you kind of like it?
no, I don't
Do you think
like
it works for
What
what,
do you
he's
think,
doing?
Kim?
I like it better in the previous seasons, but it's not bad. Like
I
wouldn't
just don't like
turn
hair
him
on my
down.
face. And just
I
the
wouldn't
amount of
turn him
hair
away.
on my face. Well, no, I wouldn't either. You could do whatever you want to your hair. He's
So
still welcome, but
a fun fact: if you watch Man of Steel, there are Smallville scenes in it, and Henry Cavill, when he has his Smallville hair, it's basically almost completely the same as this hairstyle.
it's like Lord of the Rings Hobbit hair.
So as we talked about in our recap of season 2, Chloe's story continues with more in the dark meetings with Lionel. This one in the cave.
Why are they down there?
I don't know.
But
Why
it
would
seems-
a 15-year-old meet an old man in a cave in the dark? It feels
it
odd.
creeps me out.
Well, it also doesn't feel as villainous as the previous one in the end of season 2.
No, because she's
True.
like, I gave you everything I had. Meaning she's like floundering, stalling, not really digging, or just being like, I gave you my homecoming pictures.
Yeah.
What more do you want from
At
me,
this
Mr.
point,
Luther?
Kim, did you think she knew more than she was letting on to Lionel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not much more, but I don't think she gave up everything.
Well, because
she, wouldn't do
she
that.
found Clark and she's telling Lionel, I don't know where he is. And Lionel's like, well, you better find him or you're going to lose your column.
So here we are just after 15 minutes and about 30 seconds into this episode.
This
we
was
find out
so exciting.
Did you
to
like
me.
the transition from the cave painting of Zagat,
Yes.
that snake thing, and it like turns into clouds and an island and pans down? Did you like that? Or
It
did
was-
you
I
hate
loved it.
I thought it was awesome.
I loved it.
great transition to find out that Lex is alive, and you get to meet his crazy island partner, Lewis.
Yes.
I
Doing a
love
castaway.
this.
That's exactly what I said.
This whole sequence with Lewis and Lex is actually something that I absolutely love. It's one of those things that makes this one of my favorite episodes in the series. There's
The
just
series?
something, yes, there's something about this dynamic. I think he is such a good, crazy, dreadlocked island dweller dude. He does such a good job. He's actually in a lot of TV
Is he?
series.
He looks so
He's
familiar.
in like 9 episodes of Arrow. He's in a bunch of Stargate. He's in like all kinds of stuff. This actor has been all over the place.
Oh, that's awesome.
If this was modern streaming, this would be a whole episode.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, it would.
Yes.
Because they would give you a whole episode of this. They'd give you him crashing and all of it. You would get an hour of Lex on this island without any interruptions. Instead, we only get like 5 or 6 minutes tops.
Which
Do,
is
do you
so
wish you got
sad.
more?
Oh, I wish we had so much more of this.
Yeah. Yeah, they just barely touch on it, you know?
Right.
I like what we get at the very least. Every second of it is
my
good.
gosh.
Every second of it is well done.
Okay, so then the twist on this. Did you like when you found out that Lewis was not even there?
Oh,
I
it's
love
my
it.
favorite thing about it.
And guess what? I called it just like 30 seconds before. I was
Really?
like, it's his inner demon. Like,
Oh, it's
Like
so
when
good.
he's killing him or...
I think right before that.
Okay.
I think when they start to fight,
Okay.
I was like, oh, he's going to be fake. It's going to be a figment of his imagination.
Yeah, I love it. So Lex has been on this island for 3 months, pulling a castaway. I wish that Lewis's name was Wilson. And Lewis tells him, you had another fever dream, that malaria's got to you. And Lex is like, just build the raft. We have to get off this island. I'm not staying here. And Lewis the whole time is telling him, well, either Lionel set you up or Helen did. Why would you want to leave this perfect utopia with me? And Lex is not having it.
Oh dear. Then we get to the funeral
For
for
Lex.
Lex. And a lot of people show up. Lana shows up.
It's in Metropolis.
So, Nicole, tell me about this because you're so good at details. What did you think of this whole funeral service?
I really liked it. I like how people are standing around. I loved the like one little vase holding one white orchid. Very good. I wish it was like next to his mom's.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you had like that in there or something where like if I just wish Lex would be like my wife and my son. I don't know, or that they kind of would go together more because the wife's one from season 2 was so like it was white and it had like the fire and water and it was so like intricate where Lex's seems
Almost
a lot
plain.
less, very plain. And I would have thought it would have been more intricate.
Which I wonder if it was a real death, like because it's supposed to, like subliminal messaging, right? Like because it's not so ornate, it's like, oh, he's not really dead. I don't know. Maybe that's too deep.
I don't know. Well, maybe Lionel just doesn't have time. He's busy. So
Like we're
Lionel is kind of giving this speech. My son was taken, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'll never forget him. And then you hear off screen, so will I. I'll remember him forever. He'll be in my heart forever. And it's Helen as like a grieving widow with her purple.
I know.
Which is probably Lex's favorite color because of all the purple he wears.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it's purple. She puts her orchid in. Why does Lex like orchids?
I don't know.
Because they're exotic.
Maybe.
She puts it in there, and Lionel and her have an exchange, and he walks away from the funeral because he's like, won't be associated with her because he hates her.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Lana's like, I don't like drama. Let me glance around. And she turns around and sees Clark standing in the background.
Yes.
And so she goes to him. But by the time she kind of gets free of the crowd, he's gone.
He disappears. You know how crazy that's got to make them feel? It's like,
oh, yeah.
I swear I saw Clark. Poof. Because he can move so quick. He's not there. Oh, I must have just imagined it.
So if you look right here, her hair color, it looks like it's grown out.
Yeah.
And it looks like she has like some, like, do you see this?
Like, yeah.
It's like
so
it's
like she got
gray or
highlights over the summer and they had to put them back.
Yeah.
But like there's still that redness still left in it.
So at 18 minutes and about 14 seconds, you see her like the end of this quick little slow-mo push through the crowd. Fun fact, that is the sequence that they show for Lana for the entire rest of the time she is in the intro to the show.
Interesting.
Really?
That is what they show every single time it shows Kristen Kruk. That right there. Wow. So that's a fun little bit.
Cool.
And then one more thing about Helen in this scene, because she shows up right after and, starts talking with Lionel. The actress was not informed until they started doing season 3 that she was going to be a villain. And the reason they did that was they wanted her portrayal to be honest and likable and make the villainous reveal a little bit more shocking to everyone.
Well, it worked. I had no idea.
Well, I remember I was like, I don't like Helen. You're like, why? And I was like, I can't say. Because you asked me like, is there a reason? And I was like, no.
Yeah, now it all makes sense.
But really, I was like, it's because she sucks.
Because she's the worst.
Not believe it. She did a great job acting like the doctor next door,
So our next scene, we have Chloe confronting Clark, talking to him, and he loses it. Mm-hmm. We see full red K Clark just screaming at her.
So see the back of Chloe's hair? I had that haircut.
So short.
It was spiky in the back and longer in the front.
Guys, if you see Kim with that haircut,
an auntie, exactly.
Kim was rocking it.
Always
Party in the front. But Chloe says to Clark, Lana is a wreck and your parents are losing the farm.
Yeah.
Like, get over yourself. This isn't okay. It's time to come home.
Yeah.
And Clark's like, if you tell anyone where I am, I'll go so far away, no one will ever find me.
And he smiles. And I'm like, ooh.
Because he's serious.
Mm-hmm. And then she calls out, well, you must still care about Smallville since you're wearing that class ring. Okay.
I mean, it's a good observation. He's like, leave me alone. And that's kind of how that scene ends. And then we cut back to the mansion. Helen is arriving home from shopping. And her hair and makeup is extraordinary. Mm-hmm. So good. And Lionel gives her the slow clap. Like, good job. The grieving widow. Your first appearance after 3 months. And they hate each other. And he says straight to her face, you murdered my son.
Brett had to explain all of this to me.
It's complex.
I felt like there were some holes. Mm-hmm. And so he had to fill in the gaps. Because I was like, when did she decide to be evil? When did her and Lionel decide to partner up? Like, it was very complex. Yeah.
So, and I don't want to steal too much from the next episode too, but for our listeners, if you're having a hard time putting this together, it is true. If you recall, when Helen first was dating Lex was suspicious because she got paid by Lionel to spy on him. And she said, no, that's not what it was. He paid me anyway, even though I said no. The truth is, she has been sent the entire time to spy on him. Mm-hmm. She did fall for Lex. Mm-hmm. She did fall in love with him. Then at the blood incident, when he stole the blood, she decided she was going to take both Luthers to town on this.
Yeah.
She was going to kill Lex, take the money, and be able to sneak out of her arrangement with Lionel and hold that position. She thought she would best both Luthers by killing off Lex at that point. And it's because of the blood incident. She did fall in love with him. She was going to marry him. Everything was actually trending that way. And then she flipped on that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
100%.
There you go, listeners. Thank you, Brett.
And Lionel calls her a Black Widow, and that's very good, except typically that means they've done it to other people. And that's what his first wife was called, a Black Widow, because she was killing off all her spouses. So 2 for 2, Lex.
Yep. Hopefully the next one is better. So
I think it's weird. I don't know. Is she just planning to come back to the mansion and just be like, I
think she needs to sneak out from under
I think it's a
Lionel.
long play. You can't
Yeah.
just like go off into the wind, because then you look really suspicious.
She's probably building some offshore accounts.
So she just sat in the mansion quietly for 90 days until the funeral, until the search was called off, and then she can come out of hiding.
That's okay.
She's
I
just
like
doing it, as one would, to look not suspicious.
It goes back to Lex on the island.
A very quick scene. Lex eating grubs,
Yummy.
and he sees a plane. Lewis, start the fire! There's a plane! Ah! And Lewis is like, no.
No, man.
You just gotta
This
stay here.
confused me. I was like, why is Lewis just living on this?
I know.
Lewis is just chilled. He's like, nobody loves me. I just want to hang out on this island.
Yeah, and that's about all there is at this point, where things are kind of deteriorating in their friendship, let's say.
Yeah.
In their arrangement.
Then we get a really, really sad scene in the Clark Kent barn.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, this one's rough.
He sneaks back home for memory, sees everything boxed up, and he's up in the loft when Martha and Jonathan come in, and they're finishing up packing, chatting about where they're going to live. They're going to live in an apartment above the Talon. And Martha says, it's small, and then starts crying. And the apartment above the Talon ends up being a major location.
Major location.
And
so this is a little sneak peek.
you don't see it because
A little shout out.
you'll see what happens, but it's
I
it's
love
the
it.
first thing. And then as Martha's crying and sad and saying, this farm has been in our family for 4 generations. It's not fair that we're losing it.
Yeah.
Jonathan tells her, we've had happy days and we will have happy days again. And that's the
them.
most real of anything in this episode, is this moment between the two of them.
Yeah.
Because everything else is Survivor, Castaway, Red K, drug lords. Like, it's so big, but this moment is so real.
Yeah.
It's what brings it back to Smallville, right? Everything else is so much bigger and larger than, it's like all over the world and how big everything is in the city and corruption. Then it's like, bring it back to what Smallville is.
It's the most relatable to anything in the episode, because nothing else is relatable in my life except we've had hard times, we've had happy times, we'll have happy times again.
Yes.
And that's so
Yes.
true.
Okay, so our next scene, we actually get Chloe telling Lana that she's known where Clark is all along, but she was supposed to keep it a secret. Lana is furious.
And she's like, give me the address, I'm going. And so she heads to Metropolis and finds Clark, and she gets on that motorcycle this time. And he looks crazy.
Yeah.
I hate the sunglasses for that time period.
The Matrix.
Yeah.
Matrix
So
sunglasses.
terrible.
But something of note, in the barn scene, the Talon scene, and this last scene we're talking about, the same song plays throughout. It's Calling All Angels. And it just plays without cuts or breaks, just for 3 straight scenes. And I really liked that.
I didn't realize that it just continued.
Yep, we love Train.
Oh, was that who sings that song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and oddly enough, Clark's wearing red again, which is not quite the villainous persona that much, but
Yeah.
it also isn't quite his primary colors because he's got the black around it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's slowly starting to show that maybe he's questioning what he's doing.
Maybe.
Okay, so question for you ladies as we get into our next scene with Lex looking at his compass. Compass will become an important
Yes.
plot point here. But looking at Lex shirtless with his low rise.
Nicole sure was thirsty about that.
I like it. He just needs a bath
Yes.
and some
Well, sure.
chapstick.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can't do the dry lips.
Right. But we've now got 2 different shirtless men in this
I'd
episode.
pick Clark over Lex.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say no to Lex.
Right. Because he's got silk sheets at home.
So many.
There's a lot of silk sheet cuddling, Daniel. A lot of silk sheet cuddling.
Do we need to buy some
I
silk
think
sheets?
we need some silk
Yes,
sheets.
well, where this stems from is a way deep throwback into Boy Meets World.
Oh dear.
In Boy Meets World, Corey buys silk sheets because he wants to have sex with Topanga in college.
Okay.
And she turns him down, but they're so slippery, he slides on him and like falls off, and he goes, what about the sheets or something? And he like slips and falls, and then he goes, and now I got blood on him because he like falls. It's so funny. So I think there's just something about silk sheets and
that are very sensual.
doing it.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's not enough grip. But anyway.
I didn't wear grippy socks.
But I'm not allowed to wear socks in bed. You said so at the beginning of our marriage that if I'm not allowed to defile our bed by wearing socks in them for any reason. It doesn't matter. It isn't even an intimacy thing, even though it is, but it isn't. If she discovers that I'm wearing socks, she's like, you defiled our bed.
Wait. Like even in your jammies?
Yeah.
Like if you had socks on because you were cold.
Yes.
Like I could see you naked with socks. That's
no,
weird.
she no socks allowed in the bed.
Why? Germs?
I don't know. No, I just think it's silly.
Yeah, it's literally that.
Your feet can freeze. I don't
so
care.
there have been times when I'll put one sock on and she'll be like, let me check your feet. And I let her check one foot and then I move it back and then I put it back and then she checks it again.
Betrayal.
I'm going to buy you like the fanciest toe socks that are so colorful just for Nicole.
Yep.
Do you remember when toe socks were in?
Once we had husband and wife time, and after he was like, and I had a sock on.
I had one sock on the whole time.
I was like, how dare you?
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
If only we had silk sheets.
So that's a tangent about grippy socks. We might have to mark this episode as explicit.
I don't think so. I said husband and wife time. I think we're fine.
Yeah, you were just wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Cuddling.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Dennis the Menace says?
Right. They're playing bagpipes like in How I Met Your Mother.
So you were talking to us about low-rise pants or something?
Well,
nope, just shirtless
remember.
men. Because you have Lewis too.
we had a thirsty moment, everyone. While Lex was having a thirsty moment in the actual episode, he was trying to drink some water. Turns out there's a skeleton in there, which, by the way, if that were true, now he's poisoned.
Yes.
But-
And just
already has malaria.
a generic general PSA. That is not how skeletons do.
Not in water either.
No, it would just be bones, a pile of bones. There are no, the connective tissues would deconnect. It would...
Unless
it would
you
not hold
mummify
together.
under
My
dry
mind
conditions.
is blown. I have never thought about this. You mean skeletons just don't hold themselves
No.
together? That's so true.
No, we have sinews that hold us together. And
That's hilarious.
those go away unless you get mummified.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh.
So it would just be a pile of bones.
You can't just pick up
And
a
when
body
he picks
that way.
it up, it'll
It all
stay
holds together.
intact.
It's just like they went to the Halloween section. We're like, put some gunk on there and a necklace. Is the necklace shape significant?
Yeah.
it's for... Never mind, I'm not going to say that. That would be a spoiler.
It is?
No, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat the question?
Is the necklace shape significant?
It's LL.
I thought it was a W. But do you see what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
I see what you're seeing, but do you see the L over
So
the
it's
L?
at 29 minutes and 20 seconds of the episode that Lex is drinking water from clearly a disgusting crick. And yeah.
And he sees the necklace. It's like silver and diamond encrusted. And
With
it says
his initials.
LL.
I see that. I do see it now, but you know how long it's taken me? 35 years to see it that way.
No. Well,
That's why you listen to a podcast, because you learn things.
Yes.
So LL, that makes a lot more sense. So
Same.
Lewis it's Lewis and then his last name. It's whatever it is.
Lex Luthor.
or is it Lex Luthor? Or is it Lionel Luthor? Or is it... What's his mom's
Lana
name?
Lang.
Or
Lillian,
Lois
Lillian
Lane.
Luther.
Lillian Luthor. Or is it Luthor? I censored myself, so...
So many L's in this show.
Lucas Luther.
Oh.
So, our next scene, I had a question for you guys. So, this is Clark taking Lana
To
to
the same
club.
club. What a whore.
The club he just goes to.
And that's Clark.
Where he-
To Atlantis.
Lame.
Okay.
Is that
But
what the club is called?
she
Atlantis?
wants to get out of there because this is not them. And then Clark says something, and I know so many guys think that this is a cute thing to say. I want to know how much it makes your blood boil when someone says, "You're cute when you're angry."
Oh.
Nobody wants to be called cute when they're angry.
Oh,
Right?
it's like, I'm mad at you. What makes you think I will accept that sentence?
Nicole is cute when she's fake angry.
Same. Brett thinks the same.
But not legit angry.
No.
She has a really, really sad, really cute cry.
Oh.
I've been crying all week. Just someone I know died. So Lana plays it off like, I just gotta pee real quick. And then she calls Jonathan. She only has like 5 contacts in her phone. And she calls Jonathan and is like, I'm with Clark. We're in Metropolis. This isn't good. Mm-hmm. Clark comes up to her, takes the phone and talks to Jonathan and is like, leave me alone. Rebellious.
You're not my father and you never will be. And this is the first time he's really, really yelled angrily.
Yes.
So
because the club is loud.
Well, no, it's not because the club is loud. He yells like this multiple times without the club.
Yeah.
But it's some pretty intense acting from Tom Welling.
And because of that, Jonathan's like, I'm going. This has got to end. And so Jonathan takes the key, the octagonal key, and he
goes to the cave.
goes to the cave. Then Clark, in his fury of having been rejected by Lana / his dad at the club, goes to Morgan Edge, and we get our second of the episode.
Yeah, Nicole
Clark,
says he whistled like that twice.
He whistles at the car place, and then he whistles talking to Morgan Edge because he says, I'll take the job. Morgan Edge gives him an amount of money in the Cayman Islands to do the job, and the job is to break into Lionel Luthor's safe. And Clark's happy to do so.
He's like, not only will I do it, it'll be my pleasure, right? Like, he's
in his leather jacket.
looking forward to it. But then after that,
we're on the island.
We're back on the island, and it's nighttime, and one of my favorite little tiny details that the actor who plays Lewis does is when he's kind of leading Lex around with his machete, he uses it to scratch his back. And I don't know why, but like that's just so good to me. It's such a good little detail that I know the actor added in with his normal acting stuff.
Yes.
And it is so good.
Something you'll have to note is as soon as we start the scene and they're kind of fighting on the beach, the fire is lit, and that matters because that's how Lex is found.
Yep.
Lex is fighting Lewis. Lewis falls down. Lex takes the machete and just kills him. Mm-hmm. But then he hears
this like Jamaican guy come out and he's like,
Islander.
"You okay, man?"
Yeah.
And Lex is like, "I had to kill him. He was crazy. There's
There'll be
nobody there,
man."
The island can play with your mind." And Lex is like, "No."
He's got a stick in his hand and he's been beating moss on the ground.
So good. And I'm kind of sad we don't get any from the island to Kansas moment. He's just in Kansas. I wish there was. Just give me one little 10-second scene of him on a plane making a plan. Yeah. Him arriving in Metropolis and deciding where to. Luthor Corp Tower. Like, just give me something.
Yeah.
You know? But that's okay.
Can't be perfect.
But at least
only got 40 minutes to do this episode.
True.
But after this scene, we get into the part of this episode that is one of my favorite things that Jonathan Kent ever does. And it has some of the heftiest consequences in the entire show. But you won't know that for a while.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this has massive consequences.
If you know what's coming, the words said in this episode or in this cave matter.
So, just to give you a little foreshadowing, Jor-El is the person that Jonathan wants to see. He needs his help. And he brings the key and he says, I guess your people are different, right? Like
What kind of race are you?
Yeah. And he walks away and the key glows and it reunites with the wall. And Jonathan gets hit by the two clouds chewing ice, two beams of light chewing ice. Yeah.
2 beams of light arguing while chewing ice.
That's right. And he gets pulled into this
like cone of silence?
Yeah, which is always going to be used multiple times
when
throughout the show,
to Jor-El.
including at the end of season 10. You will see this very same type of cone of silence thing with Kryptonian technology. So this isn't something that is a one-off. This is a regular occurring thing. It is excellent because now Jonathan gets to speak with Jor-El and he makes a deal with him.
That Clark can come back and I'll give you the tools you need to get him home. and he's willing to sacrifice anything to make it happen.
Oh, and we never find out what yet.
Not for a while.
For a bit.
I love this. I love the whole thing with Jonathan getting some super Kryptonian powers in order to bring Clark home. It is so good.
See, and I didn't know that's what was happening.
Right.
Until he goes.
Because you think maybe Jor-El's going to give him a tool or something to hold, or
some knowledge to
a bracelet of power takeaway or something, right?
Yeah.
Just like something. Mm-hmm.
So in the next scene, Clark is breaking into Lionel's office and he opens the safe and he finds just a single little box.
Daniel was like, "Ooh, it's going to be kryptonite." And I was like, "No."
Yeah, I forgot what the box was.
That's what
and
I
we
thought.
don't actually know in this episode what it will be. We'll talk about it next episode.
Well, because it's in an iron box, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was kryptonite too.
Okay.
Or the key. I have no
Something.
idea.
Who knows?
Clark pockets the item, and then in the office, Jonathan's there. And at first I was like, how does he know where Clark is? But obviously Jor-El tells him where to go.
Yeah, because Jor-El knows where Clark is because he can cause him pain, you know.
At any time, yeah.
And they have a little bit of a fight, but then Jonathan stands up after being thrown against a wall.
And
Clark
takes him out the window.
Yeah, and Clark realized,
"Son,
what?
You're coming home with me now."
And I like a lot how much macho Jonathan Kent has in this moment. He finally has the power to discipline his son in a way he's never had before. And there's got to be so much going on in his head right now for that. But he looks supremely confident, and he looks, in many ways, to me, more powerful than Clark.
Yes.
And it's just because of who he is, and more than anything, they probably have equivalent strength and everything.
It's called dad strength.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
man
don't
strength.
think Clark's been using his powers that much either. I think he's been pretty lazy the last 90 days.
Yeah.
And this is how Superman will look when he's older and more mature, right? I feel like Jonathan has
Swagger.
Yeah.
He does. And now we get a classic Smallville.
Continue.
We get
Fall.
two people intertwined in the air, falling from a building. This is not the last time you will see this very similar shot in Smallville. It's something that they do a lot.
And that's the episode.
And I cannot imagine seeing that and being like, I just waited 6 months for it to be continued, and now I get another to be continued.
Yeah. Except for it's only a week. You know,
At least it's
can-
only a
That's
week.
true.
we could deal with the week. So, okay, questions on the episode. Is this super or man?
Super.
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 That was too easy.
This one is, well, you have to, it's almost every season finale and season premiere. They're going to be super.
Yeah, it's true.
They do that. Keep people tied in. But it was fantastic. I really did love so much about this. And you hate it too. You hate him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Love
Loved
to
it. My
hate it.
favorite part of the episode is Lex on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just
Yeah.
so different and just such good acting. I love it.
I love all of this episode. Pretty much all the pieces. I like that Clark is the villain in a more bigger way than any time previous with Red K. So it's a good time.
Love it.
Well, on that fun note, let's end. Join us next week for the next one. To be continued.
Thanks for remembering Smallville with us. Join us next week when
Lex wears a hoodie.
Clark wears blue.
And Helen wears a parachute.
Four friends on a mission: Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. Talking Smallville every week. The podcast to gem. Smallville nights we laugh out loud. Every week they make us proud. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. In the world we find our thrill. Heroes fly and legends grow. Stories shared, they make it flow. From Clark Kent to Lex's schemes, they uncover every dream. Smallville nights we laugh out loud. Every week they make us proud. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. In the world we find our thrill. Watching tales of old, their voices pure gold. Smallville nights we laugh out loud. Every week they make us proud. Daniel, Nicole, Brett, and Kim. In the world we find our